Today is the 27th of March 2018. Right? Today is a Tuesday, and we are in Brother Loh Sayun's house in Singapore. You know, one of the amazing things about this kind of recording is by the time people watch all these things, I'll probably be dead already. But they're still hearing my voice. They're still looking at my features. It's as if I'm still alive. But the Dhamma is alive. This is what is so wonderful. No? The Dhamma is timeless. So again, age after age, people talk about it. For the last 2,600 years, we're talking the same thing. This same thing is what brings us peace. You know, in fact, the Pali word sama. Sama means same. And Malay sama also same meaning, right? But in Pali, sama is a very deep meaning. It also means harmonious, level, peaceful. Okay, so that's the effect, you know, long-term effect. When you study the Dhamma, you have that peace. Now some of you may worry, I don't remember, what did we learn last week? What did we learn this week? Don't worry. If you look at yourself, you will find that some very nice, beautiful change comes to you. It should, okay? If you allow the Dhamma to sing inside you, in other words. So learning is a miracle. In the Kewada Sutta, the Buddha simply said, learning is a great miracle. Anusasani patiharya. Anusasani translates instruction, learning, education. Okay, because if you don't learn, you can never grow. It's like you need water for the plants. The more you learn, the more this plant grows. You give it minerals, you give it sunlight. You know, and that's how the mind grows. You know, human beings is special because we have what is called the neocortex. The neocortex is the new brain, but that's only a physical structure. But it's like an index to how we learn. Because we have this new brain, so to speak, we're able to meditate. Now, all living beings, to put it very simply, not in a scientific way, all living beings have got what's called the lizard brain, the spinal bulb. That's the part of the brain that controls your breath. You don't have to control the breathing, will go by itself. That's the part that makes you jump when something frightens you, you know, and so on. So it's a very animal kind of brain, very reactive. And then you have a second brain called the limbic region, you know, that's more, what do you call it, sensual, lustful, sexual, that keeps the species going. Also animal-like, no? Then you have the human brain. That's the one that can make us Buddha, so to speak. No? Some brains are more developed than others. You know? If we learn, then this brain will change. You know, the human brain is not very big. You know, the elephant brain is bigger. The whale brain is bigger. But the elephant and the whale, are, from a human point of view, are not as intelligent as humans. What's the difference there? The human brain has got so many folds. You know, so in other words, if you theoretically, you can spread out, the area is wider, more area for memory, or another simple way is, we have better memory. But how do you remember better? Ananda here once he's able to remember, because he's very attentive. So attention is the secret to learning. Otherwise, repetition, very important. No? So the suttas are being studied again and again. You find sometimes the Buddha says something 6 times, 10 times. Some translation you find they shorten everything to just 1 time. So if Buddha says 10 times, you say only 1 time, how are you going to learn, right? And there's a reason why the teaching is given 10 times, because it's meant you hear it, you reflect on it. Right? So never feel, oh, I heard this sutta before, no need to hear anymore. That is a newspaper attitude. Newspaper, you read one day and then you throw it away. And then you pay $1 every day to the company and make a lot of money. So, the Dhamma is something we practice. I like to use the musical example. You look at the score you play, so you live according to that kind of situation. Or you're looking at a map and you're driving your way in an unknown country. So learning is this greatest miracle. Learning will change your life. Learning will show you who's telling the truth, who's not telling the truth, who's true, who's false. Then you won't be cheated in life. You can have all the money in the world, but you are not the money. That's why in English we have this word have. Have means there's something outside of you. I have this cup. That means I'm not the cup. I just borrow it for a while. I drink water and so on. I have money. I'm not the money. If I'm not careful, someone take away the money. Then I don't have it, right? Even if you say I am rich, it's just a saying, you know. If you're not happy, you're not really rich, right? You know, for example, we find most of the people who support our work are actually poor people. They're not rich people, okay? Because they have faith, they're very happy. See? The question is, why are those rich professionals earning a lot of money don't support Buddhist work very much? Or they don't support, or they only support people they think are important, VIPs, famous people, but they don't support real Buddhist work. Well, maybe they want fame, maybe they want recognition, but I think there's a deeper reason why people don't give, especially when they have a lot of money to give, but they don't. They're afraid they will lose their money. They started poor, and they're still poor. They're still afraid to lose their money. So you're not rich. No matter how much money you have, you're still not rich because you have the feeling of poverty inside you. I communicate a lot with these Filipino people, Thai people, and also the Burmese, and some Sinhalese. The poor people are very happy. They don't have much, but they're very kind to you. They're very happy. So physical wealth is not the measure of happiness. It is what you are. You're happy. Whenever you go to Buddhist country, don't just go to the physical monuments. No, I'm not talking about India holy places, okay? Because those have become tourist places already. I'm very scared to go there now. It's one of the noisiest Buddhist places in the world. It's better to go to a very quiet Buddhist place. The Buddha is there. Buddha is where there is peace. You can go to Thailand, Myanmar, Sri Lanka. Go to the villages. Go to where the people are poor. You just tell them you're hungry. No matter how poor they are, they'll still feed you. That's the amazing thing. Somehow, they have this ability. So, this is how the monks are supposed to live, see? That they are happy, not with what they have. To renounce means not to have. To let go of the having. To be. Okay? So this, Eric Fromm wrote a book called Being and Having. To have or to be. Right? So, to be means you feel happiness inside you. You are happy. Because English is, are, was, were, be. These are all verbs to be. They belong to the same category of becoming. And the Pali word is bhavana, cultivation. So it's got to do with meditation. So when we meditate, we become, we feel the peace. When you're really happy, nothing else matters. You just feel happy. And you don't feel like hurting anyone, so you keep the first precept. You feel generous, second precept. You feel very happy with yourself. You don't want to hurt anyone, harm anyone. You respect the person's person, third precept. No? You don't violate anyone. You have no fear of telling the truth because you have nothing to hide. And you don't see any fun in messing up your mind, your brain, getting drunk. People get drunk to run away from life, isn't it? Or from some problems maybe, or they're very bored, right? So there you are. You're happy. You find it easier to keep your precepts. When you're easier to keep your precepts, your mind is clearer. You can see impermanence regularly. And then when you pass away, or even in this life itself, you become a stream winner. You're on the path to awakening already. I mean, some people think it's a nice choice. Frankly, I don't think it's a choice, because if you don't become a stream winner, the prospects of rebirth is terrible. You will be reborn one of the four lower realms, Well, maybe you say, okay, I'm generous, yeah, so you're reborn in some of the higher, maybe heavens even, but all those places are impermanent, very chancy, very uncertain. Why don't take the safe bet? Live happily now, reflect on the impermanence of the happiness, and become even more happy, die happy, become a stream winner, then you go on nearer to nirvana, so to speak. What's even more interesting is the Buddha doesn't tell us, for lay people especially, even for monks actually, that you got to sit for hours to meditate. You start off with just a little bit, okay? And so this is where we come to today's teaching, all right? You look at page 88, there are actually 2 suttas here, one after the other, very short suttas. I mean, of course, it'd be very strange if the Buddha gave a very long sutta and tell us you just need to practice very briefly only, right? So there's a very short sutta. Look at page 88. Chulachara Sutta. Chula means lesser, shorter. Achara means finger snap, nah? A 1.6.3 to 5. So this Anguttara Sutta at the beginning are very short. 3, 4, 5. So 3 suttas here. Page 10 of volume 1 of Anguttara. The lesser discourse on the finger snap. Okay, so here the parable is a single finger snap, is very fast, snap like that, okay? Look at, it starts with section 3. Nah? Bhikshus, if even for just the moment of a finger snap, a monk that means anyone who's at peace with your mind, that includes us, associates with a thought of loving kindness, he is called a monk. His meditation is not in vain. He acts in accordance with the teacher's teaching. He follows his advice. He does not eat the country's food in vain. Okay, this is the Buddha's advice, a gentle warning to the monks also. No? Because monks, as you know, depend on us for their food. Right? They're supposed to be economically insecure. A monk who is economically secure is a contradiction in terms. A monk doesn't know where his next meal is going to come from, or he might not even know where he's going tomorrow. So he's just there, always present. The good monk is supposed to be the presence of the Dhamma on earth. That is why he needs to know the Dhamma very well. He needs to sit calmly in meditation to show that he is at peace with himself. And we, lay people with all our problems, go to him. The moment you see the monk, say, oh, so peaceful, you feel good already. And you hear this monk talking, you feel even more peaceful. And you go away very happy. This is originally what the idea of being a monk is like. It is supposed to be. But today you hear all these, our leaders, these VIP Buddhists saying, oh, you need to go out, you need to engage with people. They have thrown away the Buddha. They put the Buddha, turn the Buddha on his head. This is what these monks might do. I say so. What is going to happen to Buddhism if we listen to them? They think of big numbers, say, wow, look at this group, they've got such a big following, And look at this forest monk, their following is so small. Well, we're talking about qualities, If Buddha is as many as a grain, like the grain of sand on a Ganges bank, then you have a problem with quality. That is why the sutta said there's only one Buddha in every universe. You just need one Buddha. It's like a rare diamond, one kind only. That's all we need. Is one Buddha teaches the Dhamma, and then the door is open, we can follow him. We are his followers. Same awakening, only thing he's the first among equals who are awakened. So that awakening is the same. The freedom, release from the prison called samsara is the same. So we just need to give that moment to the Dhamma. All right? We also can be like a monk. In our peacefulness, we just sit there. Your friends have more problems than you. They look at you, they say, how come you can be so peaceful? Can you teach me? The moment they say, can you teach me? Okay, that's your task. You should be doing that, right? So Buddhism is about the one person. It's not about the crowd. The crowd is samsara. If you think that Buddhism is numbers, you are badly mistaken. The lower hells are numbers, very crowded. The most crowded part of life, of the universe, are the hell states. And the most spacious living area are the heavens. You can go anywhere. People never think of this existing realms or spaces in this way. We're talking about space, right? So this is one way of understanding heaven and hell. I mean, in a mythical sense, if you like. People think of hell as suffering, but they do not know what it means to suffer. Very tight spaces, crowded. Oh, by the way, you don't have to be crowded with people around you. Some people go around with a very crowded mind. That alone is terrible. It's called madness. A very crowded mind. So when we meditate, we want to clear away all that crowd in our heads. You can't escape this crowdedness, Even you become a forest monk, you still might fall into this crowdedness if you're not careful nowadays. So this is where renunciation, you must remember this, is something every Buddhist must practice, whether layman or monastic. It's how deep you want to go in renunciation. So here the Buddha basically is saying, if you for a moment renounce hatred, for a moment you just let go of anger, loving kindness, you have done his teaching. It says, you have listened to my advice. And then, of course, tell the monks, you have eaten the food, the alms you get, you are worthy of it. All right? That's the monk. Because he has put on the robe, renounced the world, so we offer him the food. So monks and nuns who have money, they never read the sutta. If only they read this sutta. So they use logic. They're forgetting the Kalama Sutta. They say, oh, well, we need to support ourselves, We can't depend on lay people, Then you're economically secure. You're no different from a normal lay person like you and I. We work hard, we got money, we save money, Now, to be quite honest with you, the life that I lead as the life we lead as lay Buddhist workers, also insecure because we don't play shares, We just try hard to save what little bit what we have, perhaps, for our children. But other than that, I like to say we are poorer than any monk or any nun in this country. And we are happy. We are happy because we are not using Buddhism to make money. We don't say we are earning a living through Buddhism, but Buddhism is our right livelihood. Buddhism should be our right livelihood, in the sense that as lay people we need to support ourselves, right? And we have this work, sutta translation, for example, teaching. This is one way we can raise the quality of Buddhism in the future. So all this goes back to that moment of renunciation. So if you give even just a moment, you get up in the morning, may all beings be well and happy. Now don't do it ritually. Ritually you might as well use tape recorders. Or now you have even this little, I don't know what you call them, devices. Just press and they pray for you. Everything is chanted. I mean, I don't know how that works. It's very interesting. Does it mean that just the sound itself already powerful enough, like radioactive? I don't think it works that way. Because if I understand Buddhism correctly, it is when you recite, the 3 doors must be present, or the 3 seals, as some Buddhists call it. Number 1, yes, you say the right thing, something pleasant, something true, something good. Buddha's name may be Buddha, simple like Buddha. And number 2, your mind thinks with the Buddha. Number 3, your body is also at peace. All the 3 doors are sealed or closed. Then your practice is proper. But here you play that prayer tape and here you are watching TV or playing mahjong or something else, I think we are insulting Buddhism. We should not do that, right? So this is the modern technologization of Buddhism, commercialization of Buddhism, and so on. We should not go that far. Yeah? So there are many wonderful things we can do with Buddhism. We are educated, you have money, you start universities. Education is a very important foundation for knowing real, good, true Buddhism that cares for people. So it starts with that moment of loving kindness, right? So the Buddha said, if you have that moment of loving kindness, a lot of great things can happen. Okay, then Buddha continues, says, how much more so if he were to often cultivate it, right? So if one moment of loving kindness is so powerful, imagine you go on cultivating it. It's just like somebody is upset and then you tell the person, hey, think of something nice, and this person, okay, I'm no more angry. One moment, something like that, you know. So this is a very simple thing to remember. Huh? You don't need to take a big volume of sutta and then wave it about and say, hey, don't get angry. You don't need to do that. You just remind this person, one thought moment. Or sometimes your own thought, you know. Your own thought can change people. Next, verse 4. Bhikshus, if even for just the moment of a finger snap, a monk cultivates bhaveti, a thought of loving kindness, he is called a monk. His meditation is not in vain. He acts in accordance with the teacher's teaching, in other words, keeping with the Dhamma. He follows his advice, he follows the teacher's advice. He does not eat the country's alms in vain. How much more so if he were to often cultivate it, right? So this is just a repetition of the teaching, because remember, the no notes those days, the Buddha would say it, yeah? So the next, section 5 is repeated third time. Only one word changes. Notice there are three words here. The first word is what I've underlined for you, is asaveti. It means associate, okay? Number 2, bhaveti, cultivate. Number 3, underlined word is mentally attends to, manasikaroti, right? Okay, first, we can take these three words as meaning only one meaning. Meditate, right? Loving kindness. And it's repeated 3 times so that we can remember very well. Number 2, you can say, okay, asaveti means associate. That means you kind of, someone says it and you listen, right? And then cultivate means you do it yourself. Manasikaroti is something like, more like thinking, see? So even if you just think about loving kindness, that may help, although not as much as if you really cultivate it. Cultivate means you feel it. You totally feel the loving kindness, you smile, you send out the loving kindness. Okay, that's bhaveti. Okay, bhaveti is the normal word we use for meditate, yeah? Right, so that's all the sutta is. Very short, that reminding us to spend that one moment of loving kindness. So if someone tells you, well, Buddhism is so difficult, you say, no, it's just one moment, not even 1 second, one moment of practice. You just say, may I be well and happy. Or may all beings be well and happy. Wake up and say that. Start from there. Sutta are very similar. This one is it's called the rice pot. Next page, Okka Sutta, or Ukka also can, Ukka Sutta. The discourse on the rice pots. In rice pot, I mean, I think the Malay word is periuk, rice pot. So this is from Samyutta as 20.4. And then you have the Chinese Agama version of it, SA 12.53. The first 2 volumes of the Da Chang Jing preserves those ancient texts, the Agamas, which are very close to the Nikayas. So this is the parable of the rice pots. So whenever you see rice pots, think of this teaching. You have to cultivate your mind in such a way that wherever you go, you see Dhamma. No matter what, you see Dhamma. Okay, so You see rice pot, oh yes, Okasutta. Then you remind, okay, what does Okasutta teach you? And you read here. So, even if you see symbols of other religions, you are a Buddhist. You don't have to follow them. You see a cross. To Buddhists, a cross, symbol of the Four Noble Truths. Right? Like that. You think like that. Then you are immune to such any conversions. The symbols of the Dhamma is everywhere. No one owns it. Impermanence is everywhere. You see, if you look at the history of human civilization 1,000 years ago now and then another 1,000 years, sometimes I like to imagine what it's like, You find one of the things, last 1,000 years, wow, very little religious freedom, lots of violence, genocide, torture. Religion really was very violent, especially the Spaniards, the Catholics. They killed millions of Native Americans. I don't know how people can still think of religion because of all this violence. If you really saw this, even in the drawings, you'd be shocked. There was one philosopher in Europe by the name of Michel de Montaigne. He was a rich man. He has his own castle, a chateau. After finishing his public service, somewhere around probably 30 years old, 35 something, he decided to sort of renounce. He's not a Buddhist, but the action that he does is basically renounce all these worldly duties, and he confined himself to his castle on the top floor of his. In French, it's called tour. It's a tower. It's got his library there. He will carve all these wise words on the beam of his roof, the ceiling, and he spent time writing, reflecting. His idea is that you can be happy with all this success and worldliness, just simple life, He was tired of all this politics, and he saw all those pictures of how the Catholic conquistadors, those conquerors, Spanish conquerors, went to South America and tortured, and horrible way of torturing, cutting off their hands and legs, blinding them, burning them. He saw those pictures. He was really upset, very unhappy. So he says, why can't people just live simple and happy? People laugh at him. His contemporaries thought this man is crazy, stupid. Who writes about such things? He writes in very simple, mundane ways. So you can be happy very simply. Just be aware of your body. Very Buddhistic. I mean, if he knew Buddhism, I think he would have been a Buddhist. And despite his simplicity, his work called the essays, like you can say reflections, influenced some of the greatest writers in Western literature, including Shakespeare also. So Montaigne, read about him, Montaigne, okay? So this living simply is something we can learn. It's the Buddhist life, it's the monastic life. And you'll be truly happy, and then you'll be really of service to others. Okay, this is what the Discourse on the Rice Pot say. S20.4, page 90. Staying at Savatthi. Okay, so here we have the Buddha giving his teachings in the Jetavana. Bhikshus, if one were to give 100 pots of food in the morning, if one were to give 100 pots of food at midday, and if one were to give 100 pots of food in the evening. Okay, so here, of course, first morning usually is for the monks. The other two probably for, in the Buddha's time, Ananta Pinika has what's called a Dana Sala. He built this pavilion where every day food will be given to anyone who needs it. Now we have a temple here in Singapore which does that. It's a lot of food every day. And very nice food, by the way. Once we went there, and a lot of people, especially construction workers, everything is free. Of course, there's a donation box there. You just put whatever you can. And there's so much food every day there. So the Buddha says, okay, if you give all this so much food every day, 3 times a day, right? Morning, midday, evening. But if one were to cultivate a mind of loving kindness, even for a moment that it takes to milk a cow by a pool at the other tit in the morning, and then everything repeats. If you cultivate loving kindness, for a moment it takes just to pull the cow's other tit for milk, just put a bit of milk comes out. Or next, if you are to cultivate a mind of loving kindness, for a moment that it takes to milk a cow by the pool of the other tit in the evening, right? So the Buddha says, even if you don't give 100 pots of rice or food, you just do one moment of loving kindness, morning, noon, and evening. Or we like to say morning, noon, and night also can. Yeah? This is a very long sentence, you see. And then finally the Buddha says, you can see a long hyphen there, it's called an M dash. This would be of greater fruit than these 3 kinds of giving. Wow, you save a lot of rice there. Of course, we can go on and say, if you give the rice and also show loving kindness, wow, that's wonderful, right? What the Buddha is saying is, it's not matter of quantity. It's not what you show people. It's not what you have, remember? Because rice or things is things we have, It's what you are inside your heart. I mean, you can be wicked or violent, you can still give food, Remember the sutta we did? Someone who doesn't keep the precepts but still, show charity, right? So not only show charity, but be charitable inside yourself. Have loving kindness inside you too. For just a moment, the Buddha says, if you can do that, it's much better than all this giving. So don't forget this. Don't misinterpret the sutta. Don't say, hey, the Buddha said, no need to give. This is not so. The Buddha is comparing, He said, if you are so generous but you're not kind, what's the point? Basically, that's what he's saying. Okay, so if you combine the two, it's wonderful. But the Buddha didn't say that because he doesn't want to make it political. Okay, because someone will say, "Oh, the Buddha is just saying, if you give, then it's good for you, right?" Okay, later on you have a lot of that kind of stories. The Vimana Watu, for example, if you just offer one flower to the Buddha, wow, you go to heaven, a beautiful place you're reborn in, and that's not enough. That they come up with the Peta stories. If you don't, okay, this terrible thing will happen to you. I think there's a time when less people were going to the monasteries, maybe, so you have to start telling all these kind of stories, So anyway, here you find it's a very pleasant, very happy tone that the Buddha is teaching. And then the advice the Buddha gives us, section 3. Therefore, bhikshus, you should train yourselves thus. We will cultivate the liberation of mind by loving kindness. Often cultivate it. Make a habit of it. Make it our basic practice. Keep it constant. Build it up. Fully undertake it. See, many same words. This is called a string of synonyms, right? To remind us. Liberation of mind. That means this one meditate until you get jhana, basically. The mind is totally free from the 5 mental hindrances. Liberation of mind, yeah? Even if you cannot get liberation of mind yet, it's okay. You can never know. You can come anytime. You just practice it. You go on doing now. Later this life, the next life, you are able to do that. So a lot of people say, how to do it so difficult? You got to start somewhere. Okay? Thus bhikshus, you should train yourself. There you are, training, okay? The word training and learning, educating, same word. Sikkati, okay? So this is the parable of the rice pots. So remember these 2 short suttas. The first is the finger snap. When you hear someone snap your finger, Dhamma. You see a rice pot, Oka Sutta, right? You go to your kitchen, the Dhamma is there too, everywhere, Dhamma, right? Do a bit of this next sutta, and then we'll take a break. Next one is a long sutta, page 91. Look at the title, Ekadasa Metta Nisangsa Sutta. Ekadasa means 11. Metta, loving kindness. Anisangsa means benefits. The discourse on the 11 benefits of loving kindness. And then it comes from A11.16. Okay. Now, what are the benefits of loving kindness, right? So I'm sure some of you will ask. Now you have a Chinese version here. It's some parts are slightly different from the Pali version. So if you compare Chinese version and Pali version, normally it is better to follow the Pali version because the Chinese translation have a lot of difficulties those days. Imagine we're talking about time when it's not like modern times, travel was difficult. You have this Indian or Central Asian monk coming to China. His Chinese is not very good, and the Chinese can't really speak well the Central Asian language or Indian, so somehow they manage. So sometimes you have problem. Often you have problem in translation. So scholars notice this. Also, having said that, we can see some usefulness in the Chinese version also, especially when we're not sure of the Pali text. So the comparative study helps. But the primacy should always, the preference should always be given to the older text, the Pali text. Yeah? Right, let's look at this translation on page 92, the discourse on the 11 benefits of loving kindness. Verse 1, Bhikshus, if the liberation of mind by loving kindness is practiced, cultivated, often cultivated, habitually cultivated, thoroughly cultivated, firmly established, consolidated and properly undertaken, 11 benefits are to be expected. Okay, here technically you got to get into deep jhana. You got to practice the Brahma Viharas, in other words, for all this to effect. Full effect, that is. On the other hand, even if you do some very simple metta, that means you really focus, not as a ritual, remember. Okay. What does it mean, not as a ritual? That means, let's say, if you're going to bed, you're lying down, you're relaxing, the basic idea is learn to feel. Feel in Pali is pati sangvedeti. It also means to experience. That means don't think about it. Right? We think too much, we can't sleep. So when you want to go to bed, stop worrying about everything. Take the going to bed like a small renunciation. You're going to renounce the world. You're going to bed. Okay, so for lay people who are not monks or nuns, you go to bed to renounce the world. Because if you don't, you can't sleep. Forget about the world. Okay, so you're going to lie down there, feel how comfortable the bed is. You're very fortunate to have that bed. There are others who are sleeping in the streets. We went to KL last year. There was this woman, sleeping on the stairs, just outside the hotel. She looks healthy. I wonder why she's staying there. We thought of giving us some money or talk to her, but next morning gone there, she's gone. So they come where there's no people around, they go before people get up. So we have our comfortable beds. Lie down, feel the comfort of your bed, and then your mind, send out loving kindness. Randomly, no need to plan. Whoever comes to your mind, wish them well and happy. Just do that. No feeling, no thinking. Just loving kindness, loving kindness. The next morning you get up, you just recall. How did you sleep previously? You may realize that you hardly said 3 lines, even 3-4 lines, you fell asleep already. Right? Occasionally people fall asleep in my class, I mean, I don't mind if you fall asleep here also, basically, But we may turn our camera on you, though. Now, what I'm saying is, I'm very happy when people fall asleep. Because I say, wow, this person is very peaceful. Some people, they come to me, they say they can't sleep. That's a problem, What I'm saying is the Dhamma brings you peace. That's why you can fall asleep, right? But if you can awake, wow, that's better still, right? But you need sleep first, so rest. Then after that, you are refreshed. Okay, you're ready to listen to the Dhamma. Okay. Now there are people who fell asleep where the Buddha was giving a talk also, and people who are not attentive, and there are those who are very attentive because of their past experiences, right? So as you lie down there, feel the peacefulness of the bed. Okay, renounce the world for a while. Do loving kindness. So that's the first benefit. Sutta says, one sleeps happily. Sleep happily. This happily also can translate as comfortably, if you like. Sukhang. So this first benefit is a cure for sleeplessness. Right? To let go of the world, don't worry too much. This is the first one. So this is from the Anguttara. Anguttara Nikaya Suttas, you see the teachings are kind of, they're summaries, so that you need to elaborate, you need to look up other parts of the Nikayas. Number 2, one wakes happily, right? Or you may say, what's the big deal here? Not many people wake happily, right? Especially office workers, they wake up and say, oh no, got to go to office, thinking all the unhappy things, meet the unhappy boss, more work, and so on. Or office politics, so many things to be unhappy. So even before they went to the office, they already worry about all these things. And they go to the office, they worry again, so they worry twice. Not worth it, isn't it? So what should we do as Buddhists? How to wake happily? The moment you wake up one day, just say, oh, happiness, aho sukho, in Pali. Oh, happiness. I'm still alive. And I'm still human. That means I can practice the Dhamma. What if there is a cartoon about this Colonel Sanders, that chicken man? He woke up and he finds himself as a chicken. He said, oh no, he's a chicken now. He's been killing so many chickens, making fried chickens, So we are still human, okay? So you're happy. When I get up in the morning, 4 o'clock, and I say, oh, 4 o'clock. And I just reflect, how do I feel? I feel fresh, okay, good. And I said, that's wonderful. I have at least 2 hours I can work with Sutta translation. A lot can be done in 2 hours. Or I can reply emails, or post some Facebook reflections, or just write a reflection. It's so peaceful, and you can really work very well with your mind, or meditate even. So wake happily, that way. Wake with the sun, say, wow, or before the sun. Usually the Buddha will say, wake before the sun. If you look at the Sigalovada Sutta, right? So wake happily, smile. Okay. What if you wake up middle of the night? Same thing. You go into loving kindness mode. Okay. Don't wake up middle of the night, look, wow, house so dark and feel so miserable. How come we do sometimes feel that way? It got so dark, Then just close your eyes, loving kindness. Do your loving kindness. And before you know it, you fall asleep again. All right. Sometimes you can be a very happy person, but middle of the night you wake up, suddenly you feel fear, you feel sadness, you feel sense of loss. It can happen because it's a different, when you are half asleep, half awake, it's a different mind, Some karma may ripen. So that's why meditation is very important. Oh, these are just thoughts. Okay, I'm letting go of these thoughts. Go into loving kindness mode. You go back to sleep. So you sleep happily, go back to sleep happily too. And these are very good advice. Otherwise, you go to psychiatrists and they will give you basically the same advice also. Number 3, one sees no bad dreams. No nightmares, in other words. Well, I can say that, most of my dreams have been very nice dreams. I've been dreaming about, interestingly, I dream a lot about monks, you know. And you notice you don't see yourself in a dream, right? I don't know how many of you see yourself in a dream. You know you're present, but you don't actually see yourself, right? You know you're doing things and so on. So I'll go on retreats, and I'll be in this nice, big, spacious temple, a lot of trees, parks, and so on, something like that. So it's, by the way, right? I mean, dear, loving. Eh? So human beings somehow just like you, or they find it very difficult, impossible to hurt you, right? So maybe you hear some marriage problem where someone is violent. Teach the victim, do a lot of loving kindness. That's how you protect yourself. So wherever you go, just send out this loving kindness. Another word for loving kindness actually is friendliness. Simpler words. So wherever you go, just be friendly with people, and you find somehow it will help you somehow. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, sometimes it's quite difficult. Sometimes we have neighbors. I don't know why in Singapore, because maybe we just move in, so we just don't feel like talking to our neighbors. We're not trusting of them. But the older neighborhood, you find everybody talks to everyone. I have one Indian friend. She says when she goes back to India, she got to make a kind of report about how she lived here. No details concealed. They want to know everything. The neighbors, mind you, just neighbors. They wanted to tell everything, And everyone is friendly to each other, helpful to each other, sharing everything. No private limited. Nothing, everything is open, unlimited. So there's this amazing kampong spirit, Of course, some people are not used to it. But you feel safe with them. No one, you can leave your door open, nobody steals things from you, and they respect each other. Of course, that kind of spirit is very hard to find in Singapore now. We have become so commercialized, so we measure everything, right? Now latest probably is fees for parking cars, things like that, So we're going the other end. We're becoming less humans, very, very, very dangerous. So we've got to go back to being human somehow. Hopefully we can use this loving kindness to tell our politicians, hey, can we be a little bit more human? Do something about that. Maybe have a ministry of humanity or something. I was told, I don't know how true this is, in UK they have a ministry of happiness or something. They have to deal with, people are getting depressed and so on. So they're trying to prevent all these things. So if we are to be dear to humans is very important, especially if you're working with people. Generally, if you are working, basically, loving kindness is very important. If you're a counselor, loving kindness is very important. It makes people accept you better, right? So don't ask why am I not popular. So you start being popular by showing loving kindness. So there's something, especially those who deal with people, they should practice this. Okay, then benefit number 5 is rather interesting. One is dear to non-humans. Okay, manusia, humans, amanusia, non-humans. So here the Buddha uses this broad term, non-humans. The ancient Indians believe in spirits, all those things, You can say this one's a bit of psychological, if you like. People have fear. So whether you believe in spirits or not, it's not the point here. The point here is that if you fear some kind of presence outside, it's fear basically is an internal reaction, you see. Some people have it, some people don't have it. Yes. So whenever you go into a new place, a place you're not familiar with, new house, hotels, friends, places, shopping centers, anywhere, traveling, you go into a garden. This whole world is a graveyard, People have died somewhere, So just spread your loving kindness. Now imagine,
So what should we say? Just go and say.
It's actually a feeling. It's a feeling. So you decide what kind of words you use, what kind of pictures in your mind that helps you to feel very good and happy. All right? think of something that makes you very happy, happy thoughts. Use that as a start. When you think of that thought, you feel very happy, and then you say, okay, may all the beings here be well and happy. Start with that good feeling first. Get into the mood, as they say. Get into the mood. Yeah. So, I don't know what's other your happy moments. Use those happy moments. Like maybe it's a family gathering, or you think of a beautiful night sky, or basically in a garden, things like that. Yeah. So, the idea is to just send out this aura of loving kindness. You notice you can sense it in people. Some people you find they're very pleasant, very kind, and you just like talking to them, being with them. Some people you can sense, they're not very friendly. So if you find they're not very friendly, send your loving kindness to them. Okay? So this is a very good, this is the ultimate self-defense. Okay? So non-human also can be a human when it's angry, right? So it's no more human. You become very angry. So those, in fact, all those negative emotions, you can say, make us subhumans. You have a lot of anger, you become like asura. You have a lot of hatred, anger, very similar. A lot of violence are hell beings. A lot of ignorance, be animal. Fear, also animals. And then the pretas, addiction. When you're caught up with something, want to play numbers, gambling, computer addiction. Those are preta mentality, hungry ghost mentality. So we don't have to die to reach that level. Even in this life itself, you can. Those zombies are quite real. You just walk Orchard Road, you can see lots of them. They're not looking at something else. Yeah, so now I wonder how they can know their way. Actually, they have some idea, Yeah. So I don't know what else can happen to human beings in the future. So it's good to be yourself there, fully present. Otherwise, you're non-human. Okay, dehumanized. We don't want that. So loving kindness means love yourself unconditionally, and as you love yourself that way, show that same love to others. Remember what the Buddha said in the Metta Sutta? Just as a mother loves her one and only child, so also show that loving kindness to others. So sometimes we can call this the mother meditation. That is especially very helpful for teachers who have children, who are students. So if she regards them as her children, for all you know, many, many lives ago, all these children, all these kids have been her children before. And I think that's why we call them children, right? That's what we use for everybody who says children. All right. Number 6, one is protected by the devas. Okay, here devas are divine beings. There are modern Buddhists who don't believe in all this, so I suppose you can say these are aliens, if you like, or these are different kinds of, other kinds of beings who have special powers, maybe. Well, if you believe in devas, we can say there are beings in other realms or other parts of space, if you like. In the suttas, these devas, they usually are your relatives. Right? Remember the story about the first 2 disciples, Tapusa and Balika. They are this deva who is your relative, an earth deva, not very high level deva, earth deva, approach them and say, the Buddha is just around the corner, newly awakened. Go to him. Oh, he's a deva. So the deva say, go to the Buddha, ask for blessings. And they say, go to the Buddha, ask for teachings. Okay, so sometimes they don't give very good advice. But some of them, they memorize teachings. And then they will actually tell their relatives, I heard this teaching. And some of them, they have very long lives. So some of them remember the Buddha's past Buddhas. For example, there's one deva, I forget who is it. It could be Sakra, He remembered Kassapa Buddha's teaching, anicca vata sankhara. Okay, all formations are impermanent. So remember that. So he's very happy. and he tells others about it. So many of these devas are our relatives. So if we send out loving kindness, they feel a better connection with us in that sense. So they protect you. They will somehow be there for you, so to speak. We have a Jataka story where in that birth, I think it's Mahajanaka, I'm not mistaken, where there is this deva all the time watching, looking after this bodhisattva. So he's like a guardian angel. But being an angel and not awakened, sometimes she go into lapse. She forgot to look after the bodhisattva, and his ship wrecked. But because of his karma, he didn't drown, he didn't die. So he floated on the ocean waves on some flotsam for 7 days. And for 7 days, this deva, I think her name was Mani Mekalaya. So she realized, oops, I'm not look after the bodhisattva. So he looked down and said, oh, he is there in the middle of the water. So she kind of propelled him to land, So that's a Jataka story about this guardian angel. The point of all this story is we don't know. Maybe this is one way of explaining things. We can, claim that, good luck, kind of stuff, But one explanation, possibly there are these invisible beings, like those aliens, they have some kind of powers for some reason. If you watch all those space fiction, you have some idea. I went through some very serious accidents myself when I was young, especially one particular accident was very strange. There were like 5 of us in the car. My sister's mother-in-law was driving, there was someone else sitting in front. My mother and I were sitting at the back with a third person. And this was a Jaguar car, and she likes to drive fast, okay? We were going from Kuala Lumpur to Klang. The roads were very winding those days, no highway. This was like more than about 50 years ago, or maybe more than 50 years. So she was negotiating a turn, and then another was oncoming car, and this water splashed over the windscreen. That's the last I remember. Big splash of water. After that, there was nothing. I don't remember anything. My mind was really blank. When I woke up, I found myself on the grass. And the car was quite some distance, like the corner there, of the house. The car was like sideways. My mother was far away from me. Everybody was alive, thank goodness, But I don't remember the part how I got out from the car. And I don't think my mother knew either, Our mind went blank, and next thing we're all outside. There were 3 of us were outside, 2 trapped in the car. So, how did we all get thrown out in a very nice way, all zoom like that, And it was luckily it was all grass, So this, of course, maybe both karma and. I don't remember. No, we were driving and the car was moving, So the doors were all.
The car overturned.
No, I don't remember. Of course, you got to imagine you have somehow there must be some opening for you to come out. You see. Even if the doors are open, and for you to fly out of the car, so it's quite amazing, There are a few such stories, you talk about near-death experiences. I got at least 2 or 3 others which are like that. So there you are. One possible explanation: there are these devas who are helping you, perhaps. Okay, or it's pure luck. Maybe some people say there's no such thing as pure luck. You can say it's good karma. Okay. Anyway, just to tell you that it is beneficial to show your loving kindness on all levels, even to the devas. Okay, number 7 is a little tricky. Fire, poison, and weapons cannot harm you. Okay, this is what the sutta says. Now you got to ask yourself, what does it mean? You notice some people, they go through all this misfortune, fire, floods, and so on, but they are never harmed. They lose things, yes, but they're always safe. So that's one way of understanding it. So they will never be harmed by fire, weapons, or poison. Somehow they're protected. So loving kindness is a way of protecting ourselves. Buddha Ghosha in his Visuddhimagga even went a little further. He even mentioned animals. He said this cow had so much love for the calf, and someone threw a spear at her. The spear just glanced off, could not penetrate her. So, illustration of the power of loving kindness. Of course, I don't propose you try that. But I'm just saying, loving kindness is a great way of being safe in strange places. Of course, you try to avoid those places, but sometimes you have no choice. Some of these places you can just suddenly find yourself in a kind of place. Lots of loving kindness. No? All right. Next is after this. More helpful ones, the Dhamma benefits. Number 8 especially is important. One's mind concentrates easily. So next time you meditate, you find you have difficulty doing breath meditation, try loving kindness. Okay. Now that is why I have problems with teachers who say, "Oh, don't do loving kindness. It's not helpful. It's a Brahmin practice." It shows that they are not familiar with the suttas. If you look at the suttas, there are so many teachings on loving kindness, on the 4 Brahma Viharas. So loving kindness is an important practice. So that's why we do both to balance our meditation. So here you are. Remember the sutta A11.16, Metta Nisangsa Sutta. Number 8 says that your mind concentrates easily. So this helps students. So, if students are studying in their exams, you do loving kindness before you study, for example. Right? So these are practical uses of loving kindness. Number 10, one dies unconfused. In other words, one dies at peace, no fear. So we don't know when we're going to die. So we go on doing loving kindness. When you're traveling, or in the plane, whatever, just keep on doing habitually, so even your last stop moment is filled with loving kindness.
Did we miss out number 9?
Oh yes, number 9. We go back one. One's countenance is serene, right? You look peaceful. You can also say you look pleasant, beautiful, if you like. No need to have makeup. You just look naturally happy and pleasant. Okay? So loving kindness is the best beautifier. Okay? Best beauty lotion. Loving kindness. So there you are. That is number 9. You know why? Because when you cultivate loving kindness in your mind, it affects the muscles on your face, because your face has got the most concentration of tiny muscles in your body. Hundreds of muscles. So they all somehow take a certain configuration. And from evolution, now there is evolutionary psychology, which they're using to explain Buddhism. It's very helpful, very interesting. In fact, if you Google evolutionary Buddhism and Buddhism, you'll find quite a lot of things. They're connected. In fact, there's one book called Why Buddhism is Right. It is based on this evolutionary psychology. So when you practice a lot of loving kindness, you will naturally smile, your face looks pleasant, and you can see the Buddha's face as a rule is that kind of happy face, even though the eyes are half closed. Meditating, the gentle smile. If you like, you can call it the Buddha face. Then, okay, we already done number 10. One dies unconfused, dies peacefully. So this means when you are meeting someone who's very sick, or this person is on the point of dying, teach the person loving kindness. Remind the person loving kindness. Happy stories. You forget about the world. Right? Death is the final renunciation. And then the last one, number 11. And if one penetrates no higher state, one goes to the Brahma world. There you are. So if you constantly practice loving kindness, if you don't attain high levels of heaven, You'll be reborn in the Brahma state because it's Brahma Vihara, this is one of the practice of the Brahma gods. So you'll be reborn in a high state of heaven. So the Buddha says, bhikshus, if the liberation of mind by loving kindness is practiced, cultivated, often cultivated, habitually cultivated, thoroughly cultivated, firmly established, consolidated, and properly undertaken, these 11 benefits are to be expected. Okay? So there you are. Quickly. Number 1, one sleeps happily. Number 2, one wakes happily. Number 3, one sees no bad dreams. Number 4, one is dear to humans. Number 5, one is dear to non-humans. Number 6, one is protected by devas. Number 7, fire, poison and weapon cannot harm one. 8, one's mind easily concentrates. And 9, one's countenance is serene. 10, one dies unconfused. 11, and if one penetrates no higher state, one goes to the Brahma world. You're reborn in the high heavens. Okay. Very nice timing. Yeah? Any questions?
What is the meaning of penetrate no higher state?
One meaning, the very first meaning, I think, if they don't attain stream winning or some of those other stages of sainthood. Second meaning is not reborn, say, in the formless realms. So they'll be born in the form realms. Got the Brahma world or the form worlds. No, okay, no questions, eh? Okay, so we'll close here. We do a short reflection, eh? Once again, we are gathered together here to sit in peace, to listen in peace, and to learn in peace, to cultivate our wisdom so that we are guided rightly to understand how our mind works, how Buddhism works, to be truly happy, in other words, in a very simple way. And remember, Buddhism is a very simple practice. Remember the 2 suttas we learned earlier on the rice spots and on the finger snap. You take just a moment to show loving kindness. You are doing a great practice. So Buddhism is so simple in that sense. Just be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Reflecting in this way is wonderful good karma. But the power of all this karma, let us cultivate loving kindness towards ourselves, that we may be well and happy, that we may be wise and courageous enough to aspire to stream winning in this life itself at least. And then let us send out our loving kindness to all our loved ones, to our relatives and friends. May they be well and happy. To those who are seeking the truth and the Dhamma practitioners, that they will see the truth, see awakening in this life itself too. And by the same token, by the power of the 3 jewels, may those who are lost in seeking the truth, may they see the true teaching in this life itself too. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.